everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again with another theory, analysis, lesson type video, this time looking at a killer riff from Michael Romeo of the band Symphony X. Those of you that have followed my channel for a while will know that I'm a huge Michael Romeo fan, and I did one of these theory videos just recently for Jerry Reed, so why not jump from country music to progressive rock and metal, yeah? So let's break this riff down. This comes from the song The Odyssey Suite. It's actually the small section on the part of the song called Sirens, and it's a very good example of how you can mix up the way you subdivide a beat to change the overall feel of a riff. I'm going to cut away and do the theory now, and then come back and break the riff down for you. If you do enjoy this video, please do share it with your friends, hit that subscribe button, and apparently now you need to hit the bell icon as well. So yeah, do that, it's a great help to the channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. So in essence, this is a very simple riff. Well, in terms of concept, it's a lot trickier when it comes to actually playing it, but the concept is very cool and simple. In essence, the tempo never changes. The tempo of the original piece is about 135, though for these examples, I'm going to be doing everything at about 100 for you, just so you can follow along. So if you really listen to the original recording, what you notice is that there is a solid groove of that tempo, 135, or in this case, 100. And that's played on a hi-hat, some sort of cymbal. Let me just play that for you now so you can hear that. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that just moves consistently. What happens is that the way the beat has been subdivided changes to change the overall feel of the piece. So while the hi-hat is playing a consistent groove of 4 against that pulse, over the top of that, Romeo begins by playing triplets, so groupings of 3. So our 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 becomes 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. These are triplets, a grouping of 3. Now, after the riff has played twice, he then plays the same basic idea, but now changes the feel of the groove. So instead of playing triplets, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a, instead now he's playing eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just practicing going between those two feels can be quite tricky at first, but it's something that you have to learn to do. It's about subdividing the beat. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's the basic concept of what you have going on here. The last point that's worth addressing is how the riffs are actually similar. So we have a different rhythmic feel, but the basic idea of the riff is still contained. If we look at the actual notes of what's happening here, we can see that there's a high note, an E, and then he jumps down to a lower E, and this is played a few times. There's a little trill idea that's played, but then in the next bar, he moves up to an F, back down to that low E note, and then up to the E again, an octave higher. That's the basic feel of the riff. And if I try and vocalize that, we'd have silly to vocalize something like that, I guess, but that's how it is. Let me just cut in the actual guitar part of that so you can really hear it. Now when it moves over to the eighth note variation, if you look at the notation again, you have that same basic motif, although it's been rhythmically shifted around. The first note is that high E, he then jumps down to a low E, plays that a few times, and then jumps back up to that high, it's an F in this case, down to the E, and then again up to that higher E. Now that rhythmic idea is now present but in its eighth note form. So if you listen to the vocal part, that's what Russell Allen actually picks out with his voice. He's singing those particular notes. So It's not the same riff, but it's definitely similar, and that's what ties it all together so nicely. And in my own opinion on it, essentially what happens is it sounds heavier and more grinding, because although the tempo doesn't change, it feels like you've shifted to a lower gear. You're grinding along a little bit more. So very cool. Anyway, why don't I play that riff again one more time for you on the guitar, and then I will come back and I will teach you how to play it and show you how I play it. Okay, so before we start learning this riff, it's worth pointing out the tuning. Michael Romeo tends to tune his guitar down a tone, so that means my guitar is tuned to D, G, C, F, A, D. That is a form of standard tuning, so you can obviously learn this riff in standard tuning. It will still work absolutely fine. It's all about the concept. Also, while we're staring at it, how beautiful is my minors? Beautiful minors, Regis. These are bare knuckle aftermath pickups, and of course I'm using the VPix medium pointed. Anyway, so let's take a look at the first part of this riff. This is where we have that triplet feel. So you really need to get used to subdividing that beat, hearing your pulse of 1, 2, 3, 4, and your triplet feel against that. Da, 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 da. If we look at just the first two beats, we're jumping from a high. I mean, I'm thinking of this as an F sharp, despite the fact technically we're transposed, it's an E. I'll probably refer to it as an F sharp though. So we need to get used to playing this triplet feel of. It's me just looping those first two beats, and I'm counting in my head 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a... Now the third beat presents a bit of a challenge because this is a grouping of 5. This is a tricky one. And this really comes from just the nature of how many notes need to be played. We play the open E, 2 and then 3, and then roll down. That takes up one full beat, so you need to get used to practicing that as... You can count it as, I use hippopotamus, 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 because hippopotamus is a word that has 5 syllables. Some people use words like university. It's really up to you. What I would recommend doing though is practicing beats 3 and 4. So getting used to that feeling of the 5 moving back into that triplet. So 3, 1, 2, 3. Now when I put those two sections together, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. And a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same basic idea in the second bar. We're now jumping up to a high G. Now this is how I tend to practice and work on riffs. I just learn them in small sections like this. Then I put beats, bars 1 and 2 together. So that's not too tricky. Now as we move into the third bar, same basic premise. We're just playing a C instead of an F sharp. So that's the same. The final bar is a little bit trickier. Same basic rhythm of 5, but now we're shifting our hand to play the open E, 3rd fret, and then 6th fret. So that's the part I'm going to practice. That's beats 1 and 2 of that bar. And then you move down to a trill. So if I put that entire section, or sorry, that bar together. And then if I play it to speed, definitely a tricky one. Now let me play that entire section together, the entire 4 bars there. And a little bit quicker. That's not too tricky. I mean, it is quite tricky actually, but over time that one shouldn't present too much problems. Now, when you move into the second part, the same basic idea. I'm going to play everything with a downstroke now, though, apart from the 16th notes, which I'll alternate pick. So I'd look at this in terms of maybe the first bar. And then the second bar. Really, I find it makes most sense to process this starting from that G. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. And those first 2 bars. And again, faster. Now, challenge for you might be to play the first 2 bars of the triplet and then straight into the first 2 bars of the 8th note phrase. So you'd have this. So we're really feeling the difference between those 2 things. Feeling the difference in feel. Now he moves away from the more predictable, it doesn't repeat the same basic idea in the last 2 bars. He continues down with this phrase, and then, then we have a riff. Which is kind of cool. So take that one nice and slow. Let me play that entire 8th note section for you nice and slow. It will sound like this. And then a little bit faster. Now I'll play the entire 2 triplet section moving into 8th notes. So that'll sound like this. Now let me cut in playing that with the drums and everything. So there we have it, Sirens, an absolutely killer riff from Symphony X. Really looking forward to Michael Romeo's upcoming solo album. Fingers crossed I can try and persuade someone to sort out an interview with him so I can get him on the channel. It would be great to talk to him. So as usual, if anyone out there knows Michael Romeo, because his press agent doesn't seem to want to respond to my emails anymore, it's a shame, yeah, please do try and put us in touch. Lastly, I just want to extend a huge debt of gratitude to these people over here. These are some of my Patreon supporters. They help make these videos happen. I've taken a lot of time out to make a video like this. There's a lot of editing involved in this, more than my usual videos. But I hope that you guys get some sort of enjoyment out of them and you can kind of thank these people for it. So yeah, if you would like to be like those awesome people, you can check me out on Patreon by clicking this button up here for as little as $1 actually. Subscribe by clicking this little button down here and you see 2 more of my videos here and here. As always, thank you so much for the support, guys, and if you have any questions, need any help with anything, please do hit me up in that comments box below. Peace.